What's going on? Season 14 is finally in full swing, and we have access to the delayed features of traps and hanging. So today, we'll be going over all of the new commendations and how to obtain them. This video is chaptered, so you're welcome to click through if you know what you're missing. Our first commendation is Hanging on the Skelly bone, which requires you to travel distance hanging off the side of a Skelly ship. My biggest tip for this is to kill the Skellies first. If you don't, they'll knock you off the ship into the water and you won't go anywhere with this commendation. Once you've cleared the deck, you'll want to just hang from any of the spots on the ship, of which there are 6 on the sloop, and your progress will start tracking. Now, once you're hanging and the Skellies respawn, they won't aggro on you, but if you're solo, you'll still have to worry about them shooting at your ship. And make sure you're ready when you stand back up, because you will be delayed and they will be feisty. Next up is Keep Me Hanging On, which requires you to travel distance hanging off the side of an enemy pirate ship. If you're able to make friends out on the seas, this should be very easy with their help. But if the pirates you meet are uncooperative, the best way I've found to do this is to kill them, hang off the side of their ship while they're in the ferry, and then spawn camp them when they come back, or at least when they start shooting your ship. Now, player skill can be a huge factor here, and any time off the side is wasted time, so I strongly recommend either making friends or being sneaky enough that they don't know you're there. Next, we have Hanging with the Enemy, which requires you to use all hanging points when boarding an enemy ship. Now, there are a couple things to note about this one. Like with the last commendation, if the pirates are unfriendly, you will have to put them down in order to get this done. You'll then want to hang from all of the points on the ship before leaving. If you get off the ship before you're done, it will reset your progress, and you'll have to use all of the hanging points again. There are 6 hanging points on the sloop, which are shown here in this clip, which took me about exactly the time of a player respawn to get done. The brig, on the other hand, only has 4 hanging points, which makes it technically easier than the sloop to get this done. However, if the players are hostile to you, that will be an extra crew member to contend with. And finally, the galley herself has 10 hanging points, which already makes this the hardest ship to do this on, let alone the fact that you'll have 4 crew members to fight if they're hostile to you. For that reason, I strongly recommend doing this on a sloop or a brig. Our last hanging commendation is Hung Out to Dry, which requires you to hang from shipwrecks at 5 different islands. So first we have Discovery Ridge, where you'll have this kind of small piece of ship that's on the beach. That's what you'll actually be hanging off of. Next up is Thieves Haven. The shipwreck is going to be at the center of the island, where a lot of you are familiar with, and it's very easy to access if you pull your ship into the island, but the hanging spot is going to be at the very top of the shipwreck. So I would recommend using your grapple gun to get up there, and then just hang off the ledge. Next stop is Galleon's Grave Outpost, and this shipwreck is pretty impossible to miss. There are a couple ways up to it, but regardless of how you get there, once you're up top, the ledge is going to be here on the left, and you'll just hang off of it. Next up is Shipwreck Bay. You can actually dive directly to the island if you vote up the Seabound Soul Tall Tale. That being said, this location is actually going to be in the same shipwreck as that Tall Tale start. It's actually going to be in the same spot, just 1 floor above. So you can see here on the map where the shipwreck is located, and I would again recommend using your grapple gun to get up to the top floor. Our last stop is Morrow's Peak Outpost, which you can also dive to directly using the Heart of Fire Tall Tale. Now, there are 2 pieces to the wreck on this outpost, and you are looking for the western portion, or the butt end of the ship. There are, again, a couple ways to get up there. You can do it with a little flare and a grapple gun, or you can use the roof of the tavern to jump up. Either way, you're going to find the hang spot right here, and this should be the last one for your commendation. Moving on to the traps, we have first Dance Off Danger, which requires you to set a trap with a jig ball and make at least 2 enemies dance. Another word enemy told me that maybe this works on PvE mobs, so I tried this on a couple Skellies. In order to set a trap, you need to first throw it down, enter crouch, open the loader, and then slot in a consumable that works with a trap. You then need an enemy to trigger it, so I lured over these Skellies and they busted a move, and so did I. Unfortunately though, this commendation didn't unlock. So my next step was to find enemy pirates and try this on them as well. I loaded up an hourglass match, and after some convincing, I was able to get this duo to help me out. So I set a trap, loaded it with a jig ball, et voila, the commendation unlocked. Oddly enough, nobody busted a move here, but it obviously worked anyway. Next up is Secret Snare Setter, which requires you to dispatch other pirates using buried traps. There's a couple things to note about this one. In order to bury a trap, you'll need to right-click 2 times with your shovel, which will leave it partially visible, but that is full burial for a trap, and it will count for the commendation. Because the wording says other pirate, I thought this might work with a crewmate, but unfortunately this will need to be an enemy pirate. Additionally, dispatch means to kill them, so you must land the killing blow with the trap in order for it to work. Next on the list is Red Alert Raider, which requires you to set a trap on your ship with a red flare and have another pirate or enemy trigger it. Now, this is pretty easy to set up. You want to throw down a trap anywhere on your deck, load a red flare into it, and when the trap goes off, it'll send the flare into the sky. Now the wording here is enemy or another pirate, but based on my experience with the last couple commendations, I'm assuming that only an enemy player can do this for you. And I accidentally earned this off camera. I had set up the trap on my ship and forgotten about it, but when it unlocked, I was hit by a cannonball from an enemy player's ship. And you can see here when the trap takes damage and breaks, it doesn't send the flare up, but this is how I got my commendation, so I think it qualifies. Our final commendation is Trap Ease Artist, which requires you to... Wait, how'd that get in there? It requires you to disarm enemy traps. In order to disarm a trap, you need to approach it while in crouch, and you should get a prompt to disarm trap. Provided that was thrown by an enemy, you'll get the commendation. And that is a wrap on Season 14 commendations. If you're still missing any, make sure to check out the original Season 14 commendation guide on the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.